Hello, I'm Mark Bassa, and two methods of assessments that I'm going to discuss are criterion-referenced tests and learning styles assessments. So criterion-referenced tests, according to Pierangelo and Giuliani, these tests evaluate a student's performance based on a specific set of criteria or benchmarks rather than comparing them to other students. Mastery level or criterion systems divide material into a hierarchy of skills, and students demonstrate mastery against these predefined levels. The performance of other students does not affect a student's score since this is an individualized approach. Some education systems have adopted criterion-based outcomes reporting approaches for parents, so the parents can see how their students are doing specifically. So pros. So in these types of tests, there are already established standards or competencies that are set and used to describe the performance of the students. They can determine if a student has met a predefined criterion or cut score, indicating whether they have passed a certain standard. For my role as a teacher, this method of assessment can be useful for measuring mastery of specific skills or objectives related to the curriculum. So, for example, I'm a science teacher. Like, does a student in 8th grade have a full grasp of Newton's first law of motion, that an object stays in motion or stationary unless outside force affects it? I would then measure the student's mastery by giving them a summative assessment to see if they answer a set of multiple choice questions correctly 9 out of 10 times, or 90%. There are some cons. Because it is based on a specific criteria, criterion tests do not compare a student's performance to other students. So this is one of the examples of how limited the test can be. The establishment of appropriate standards or cut scores can be challenging and may influence the interpretation of results, though this is not necessarily expected, but it can happen. According to Pierangelo and Giuliani, tests such as content reference tests, which are concerned with the mastery of specific skills, might not provide an overall assessment of the strengths and weaknesses of a student. And the other type of assessment is learning styles assessment. So understanding a student's learning style, for example, visual, auditory, or tactile type of learning, is important for tailoring instruction. Teachers should be aware of these different learning modalities and adjust the means of presentation accordingly. According to Pierangelo and Giuliani, a child's evaluation usually includes information about their best functional system of learning based on effective intervention strategies that meet the student's needs. So some elements that may be included here would be one or more of the following: visual, auditory, or tactile presentation of material, time of day the material is presented, such as morning or afternoon, or even start of the period or end of the class period, how students would respond, such as an oral or motor response to a question, classroom environmental conditions, such as temperature and light, the personality traits of the student, how the student perceives their success is measured, such as praise or criticism, the type of thinking the student uses during problem solving, such as trial and error or analysis during certain assessments or certain skills. According to Pierangelo and Giuliani, identifying the factors that positively affect the student's learning needs will help in formulating the proper intervention strategies. Some pros. So understanding a student's learning style is important for tailoring instruction to their preferred modalities. As a science teacher, I've seen many students successfully understand concepts when they perform a hands-on laboratory activity. As an example, this type of assessment definitely applies for students who benefit from tactile and visual methods of instruction, or even motor method of instruction. A teacher can then make judgments and use formative assessments to see how students are progressing during these activities. Learning style assessments also help in identifying a student's best functional system of learning and can help educators adjust the means of presentation of material to increase understanding and success. And just as a point of reference, there are some academic benefits for student during this type of assessment. It gives a student a head start and maximizes his or her learning potential. It enables them to succeed in school, in college, or university eventually. And some personal benefits for students include increases in self-confidence and improves their self-image and being able to learn in varying methods of instruction that they receive. They successfully complete when they learn in the way they want to learn. Some cons, though, right? So from a general education perspective, learning styles can be complex, and students may benefit from varied approaches rather than strictly adhering to one style. A con can be over-reliance on a single identified style, which might limit exposure to other effective learning methods. So it's important for teachers to see what other styles students prefer, not to stick to one particular type of instruction, and differentiate. For example, some of my students have requested that for topics with a lot of vocabulary, they prefer classic note-taking, while others benefit from technological methods like creating virtual flashcards using Quizlet from Quizlet.com. And while standardized testing is often used by schools as a means of gathering information about a student, according to Pierangelo and Giuliani, it is important to also include other methods such as interviews, observations, and methodologies such as ecological or dynamic assessments. Thank you.